places you'd love to maybe fight at one day in the future?
But that would be like the dream stage to fight on. A
Very
lot of
nice.
good memories, a lot of hanging out. So I have two of Tyron Woodley's walkout jackets behind me because
He dropped that rap song, "I'll Beat Your Ass." What do you think about that song, man?
my little guy doesn't respect the normal waking hours of human beings. So when you're never as good as you think you are, and you're never as bad as they say you are. So don't focus on what you're doing wrong. Just focus on doing better at something.
All right, guys, this is Crazy Kev here, and I'm here with UFC fighter Gerald Meerschaert the third. Gerald, how we doing, my man?
I'm doing great, Kev. How you doing?
Doing good, Gerald. Can't complain. And Gerald, man, you got a fight coming up. Talk us a little bit more about that matchup.
Yeah, so I did have a fight for the 305 card, I believe, and I don't know if the opponent got hurt or what happened with that, but that fell through, and now I've got Edmund Shabazi on August 24th in Vegas.
Nice, nice. So, what do you think about that matchup? Getting to face Edmund Shabazian now.
I like it. He got in very young, but he's been around for a while. He's fought some tough guys. He's still very dangerous. I feel like for me, it's a pretty good matchup. Another kind of cut and dry thing. Like he's known for getting the quick finishes. If you can get out of the first round with him, then he is tends to have some issues with his gas tank. But still a really tough guy, still a good name, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, no, definitely. And you've been fighting a lot of these up and comers recently, and you've been doing very well with these guys, man. What do you think about facing a lot of these up and comers and stuff for the UFC now?
That's been like a lot of my fights. So, and I think it just kind of happens that way if you stick around long enough. It's just a lot rarer that you see someone that's had as many fights as I had, especially now. And usually, either the guy's going to be the next rising star, or they're going to wash out quick. And for better or worse, I haven't been in the top 15 even yet. But I was never a rising star, but I'm tough enough to stick around and beat some guys I shouldn't, and then I have a couple losses. But it's just one of those things where if you spend enough time, kind of everybody around you kind of becomes the rising star, and you're just kind of the old dog in the fight. So it is what it is.
Yeah, no, I definitely hear you there. And with you facing a guy like Edmund, what do you think a win does for you, and what's maybe some of your goals right now in MMA?
I think an impressive win, maybe either gets me a shot at top 15 or maybe one more, and it'll put me in a position for that. So, we'll take it one fight at a time, though. Edmund's not someone to look past. He's still tough. He's still, he got in very young, but he's still a pretty young fighter. I think he's only like 26 or 27, so he's still got a lot of years left. And, like I said, not somebody to look past necessarily. So I'm only concerned with him August 24th right now.
I love it. I love it. Now, with you having about 20 fights now in the UFC, I mean, how do you think the UFC has maybe evolved since you first joined?
I mean, the gloves changed. I haven't got to fight in the new ones yet, but other than that, man, it's a cage fight. It's the same thing. They've always been, since I've been in, they've always been really good about streamlining everything. More than anything, as an organization, they do a really good job making fight week really, really easy and coordinating with the fighters and all the blue shirts and the people behind the scenes. I think that's honestly one of the big things that sets the UFC apart, at least for having to fight for them perspective, is they take care of a lot of stuff, like helping you set up to get your medicals done, getting the travel set up, making everything very easy for you so you can just focus on being a fighter. And that stayed very consistent. And other than that, you know what I mean? You go in an octagon, you put on some small gloves, and you throw it out. So that's been the same pretty much the whole time.
Now you mentioned the new gloves. I mean, have you got sent the new gloves yet? Have you trained with them? What do you maybe think of them?
Yeah, they sent me a pair. The size they sent me is probably a little too small, so I grappled in them. That I don't notice too much of a difference. I haven't fought in them yet, and I've only worn them once, so it's kind of hard to say at this point. But the one thing I wish they would fix is that they seem to never address, and I don't know enough about the glove design or if there's something like that makes it hard to do. But the fingers, like the holes for the fingers, are always like way too tight. Like I could probably hand size wear a large or an extra large, but because the finger holes are so tight, I have to go up to like a double or triple XL, or like cuts off feeling in my hand. But again, I don't know how they make the gloves or who determines all that. But that's that's been a thing that I've seen with the gloves throughout my entire career. So that must just be something with manufacturing where like there's just not a way around it.
Fair enough, fair enough. And speaking more about fight gear, man. I mean, I believe behind you, is that some of your fight gear that you had from past fights?
Oh, that's so behind me I got a bunch of the old jerseys of guys that I've cornered before. So
Nice.
uh Askren's jersey up there, the walkout jackets. I've got Woodley's up there. Who else? I've got Brendan Allen's up there, Sergio Pettis, another one of my former teammates. So I got a pretty good list of who's who. So that's just guys that I've like traveled with and helped get ready for fights and been in their corner. So those are the cool ones behind me.
I love it. I love it. Now, talk us a little bit more about cornering. How do you kind of like that? And what's maybe some of your favorite memories from cornering?
It's fun. You know what I mean? Anytime you can give back and help a guy that's helped you, get ready for fights and just kind of be there for him and help out with whatever, be a body or, be a coach, whatever the capacity that they need you is, it's always fun. And, a lot of good memories, a lot of hanging out. I've been, I have two of Tyron Woodley's walkout jackets behind me because I was with him in a very big part of his camp, just like training with him and stuff like that. I was with him in Atlanta in his corner when he won the belt, and I was with him in Texas the last time he defended it against Darren Till. So those were like obviously two very big fights. The first one, like getting the belt's always special. I don't think any of us even slept that night. I think we went back to the hotel and we went up to like this loft area, and everyone was just awake until they caught their flight the next day. And then I remember the Darren Till one. That's when he was, Till was on a hot streak and he was the next big thing and seemed unbeatable. And that was Tyron's like third or fourth title defense, something like that. So that was another very special one.
Yeah, yeah, no, that was definitely a special fight. I definitely remember watching that. And speaking more about Woodley, man, he dropped that rap song, "I'll Beat Your Ass." What do you think about that song, man?
No, that was cool. I think he walked out to it
I
for the
think
day.
so too.
I don't remember, but yeah, hey, anytime you can expand that revenue stream, man, I'm all for it.
Let's go. I definitely agree. And speaking a little bit more about that's kind of stuff. I mean, what do you typically like to do outside the cage, man, when you're not fighting?
Uh, I don't do anything too exciting. So I have a toddler, so pretty much just watch him. Not a ton going on. We like to try to keep him as busy as possible. Take him to the beach, little stuff like that. If I don't have, if I'm not responsible for him, nothing crazy out of the ordinary just because I don't have time. So that's pretty much it. Just being a family man.
That's definitely awesome, man. And you also competed a little bit in grappling against like Joe Pfeiffer as well as like Craig Jones. I mean, when you're competing in grappling, do you just do like pure grappling in the gym? You stick to MMA? How do you kind of go about those matches?
Oh, the last two competing, I looked like shit, to be honest with you. And partially one of the matches I had like been doing nothing, and then the other one, like for Craig Jones, and this is nothing against him, but it was just I had a teammate Impa Kasaganai who was getting ready for his PFL final, and he was fighting a lefty that wanted to grapple. So I did nothing in terms of changing my training. I was literally just like trying to be a good sparring partner because I was like, look, I'm probably not going to beat Greg Jones in a grappling match. So like, it doesn't make sense for me to like change around my training to get ready for this when I could help my friend win $1 million. So
Right.
maybe it could have gone a little bit better, but I was like, I don't really, I didn't really care to change it up too much in the future. If I knew I had a tough guy coming up like that and I had time, maybe I would actually like go to a jiu-jitsu place and like just train actual jiu-jitsu for a little bit. But in those specific instances, I did nothing differently.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Now, after your fights, man, what do you typically do? Do any sort of partying? What do you kind of do when you're all said and done?
Yeah, I'm too old to be partying like that anymore, man. That's the thing. Is again, maybe if I was gone somewhere once in a while, I'll go out. But my little guy doesn't like respect the normal waking hours of human beings. So when he's up at 5 or 6 o'clock, it doesn't matter how I feel. It's time to be a dad. So that's pretty much taking partying out of the equation for me.
I got you. No, that definitely makes sense, man. And when it comes to like music and stuff, man, what do you typically like to listen to?
Uh, a lot of different things. I definitely listen to a lot of like 90s hip hop because that's kind of what I came up on because that was, even as a young man, I was like, it was in the late 90s and early 2000s. So a lot of that stuff was still popular. And um, yeah, that's pretty much it. Nothing comes to mind. I haven't as I've gotten older, not intentionally, but I haven't really like listened to music that much. You know what I mean? Just because I listen to a lot of podcasts, like on the way to and from training, and I listen to Kill Tony a lot, like a comedy podcast. But the music's on when I'm training, and if I'm lifting or something. But I've just gotten to the point where like I still like music, and like if there's some cool stuff that comes out, I'll listen to it. But it's not at like the forefront. You know what I mean? Like I just don't care enough to have an opinion anymore.
Right, right. Now, you mentioned you like to listen to comedy podcasts. Have you been in any comedy shows or anything like that during your free time?
I have not recently, not super recently. I was supposed to go to one a few months ago, but I think my kid ended up getting sick or something like that. But that is something I like to do is go to live comedy shows. It's a very like anytime you can listen to it, it helps like alleviate tension, and especially before in training or like before a fight or something, it helps. But going to live shows is a lot of fun. But that's you got to get a babysitter and all that stuff, plan ahead for stuff like that. Now I can't, I can't just do whatever I want. So that's still limited along with everything else, but not to complain. It's all good stuff. I love being a dad, but it gives me an excuse to be a homebody for sure.
I like it. I like it. Fair enough. And with you being such a big veteran in the UFC, I mean, is there any cool like behind the scenes stuff that maybe a fight fan might not know about when it comes to the UFC?
Uh, I mean, not anything that I can think of that would be like super surprising. I mean, it's definitely there. If there's one thing I could like tell people, it is always kind of different how like when you're watching from home, right? Especially like at an Apex show, uh, especially if a fight's finished, goes to decision, whatever, they cut to a commercial break. There's nothing going on in the Apex, so there's like just 5 minutes where you just gotta sit there with nothing happening. It's like okay, this is cool. Like we all know what's gonna happen. Like, even if win or lose, like you finish a guy, you get finished, whatever it is. There's gonna be like a 5 minute quick commercial break. So it's like you're sitting there like, oh, that was crazy. It goes to commercial. During that commercial time, we're all just standing there like with our hands crossed, like, all right, anytime now. So it's some of the less glorious sides of fighting for sure.
That definitely makes sense. And when it comes to like the blue and red corner, I mean, what's kind of the difference between the two, and when do you happen to find out like which side you're actually on?
So the main difference, as far as I can tell, that whoever's ranked higher, and like obviously there's they technically, as far as I know, only rank you in the top 15, but like whoever they think is the A side is generally in the red corner. There is some nuance to that. Like if you're, even if you would normally be the betting favorite, say like you got put into a fight, like you were a replacement, even if you were like ranked above the guy, they probably put you in the blue corner, unless it was something crazy, like you were, number 10 fighting an unranked guy. Maybe they changed it, but I've had fights where like, you know, I was a betting favorite, but they had me in the blue corner because, I replaced somebody on like 3 or 4 weeks notice or something like that. So generally speaking, the red corner should be the betting favorite, or like whoever they think is like the A side. And then the fight kit colors is different. It's like really the only thing, so that red corner also gets first choice of short color. So you can pick white, black, or a designated color for your country. So like you represent the USA, you can pick blue. So like if I was fighting another guy from the US and we both wanted blue, if he was in the red corner, he would get blue, and then I'd have to pick something else. And then for like the fight kits and stuff, generally speaking, the red corner is like more black with like red accents, and then the blue corner for some reason isn't black with blue accents. It's usually like green or like tan or something, which never made sense to me, but that's just how it ends up working out.
Okay, okay, fair enough. Now, before your fights, do like the refs or anything like that, like go over the rules and stuff with you? And if so, like what's kind of that kind of like too?
They'll come in the back, but that's like not until fight day. You go there, and they'll have like 4 or 5. I think it's around 4 refs working fight night, and whenever they're not, you know, out by the cage, they'll come circle around, and I pretty much know all of them at this point. But they're like, hey, I'm going to be your ref. Do you have any questions? If you do, they go over it. If you don't, they're like, okay. They give you their quick spiel, and like, obviously, I've been around long enough. It gets shorter and shorter, but it's like they'll give you their main things. Like, this is what I think is back of the head. This is how I'm going to look at hand down or someone playing the game. This is what I'm going to tell you if I want you to work. This is what I'm going to tell you if keep going unless you feel me separate you. If I separate you, go to a neutral corner. Really simple, easy stuff like that. So
Okay, okay, fair enough. That definitely makes sense. And when it comes to just like fighting in general and stuff too, I mean, do you happen to have like any like places you'd love to maybe fight at one day in the future?
the dream for me would be someday to fight at the Saitama Super Arena in Japan, because I came up watching Pride, and that place is a huge arena, and that would be, I don't know, that was like the dream. And it's obviously it's a huge arena, and it's very different there because it's completely quiet until something happens, and then 50,000 people start clapping, and they go back to watching intently. So it'd be for sure a different experience, but that would be like the dream stage to fight on.
Very nice, very nice. Have you ever been to Japan or anything like that before?
I had a layover there once, but I didn't get to like walk around and see the country or anything.
I gotcha. Now, have you traveled to any cool places where maybe you remember like something that was pretty cool that you ended up seeing?
Yeah, so a lot of my traveling, I've been to England a couple times. I've been to Singapore twice with Ben Askren, and I went with him to China once. I met a guy named Drew in Singapore, and he's kind of like lives there and like showed us all these different areas to like eat this cool like different foods from different parts of the world. And they like he's Indian, so he had all the good Indian spots, but he was like also a chef at one point, so he knew every like Mediterranean spots, Chinese spots. And I remember when we were there, we met. I think it was the first time we went to Singapore. We got hot pot frog, and they literally just like cooked live frogs in front of you, and then put them in like a pot with porridge and like some like this chili sauce. That was definitely different and memorable.
Yeah, no, it definitely sounds different and memorable. And when it comes to just like being in the gym, I mean, what's maybe some of your favorite experiences when it comes to training?
Just being in the room with the guys, man. I think that's like common for any sport or any occupation where you have that kind of camaraderie. Whether it's like you hear guys in the military say similar stuff, firefighters, any kind of sport you play, like that's on like fighting is freaking awesome. There's no higher high than winning a fight, and there's no lower low than losing a fight. But I think really what especially when people get done, what they miss most if they're like done with fighting is the room. It's just being with the guys, you know, putting it all on the mat, like pushing each other to your limits and doing it for like the benefit of each other and not just yourself. And then just getting the bullshit before practice, after practice. That kind of stuff I think is the biggest thing for most people.
That definitely makes sense. And you mentioned fighting has the highest and highs, lowest and lows. I mean, after your fight, win or lose, I mean, how quick do you typically try to jump on social media, read the comments, and try to watch that different stuff with like the highlights and whatnot?
I try to read the comments too much because it's one of those old sayings: you're never as good as you think you are, and you're never as bad as they say you are. So you know what I mean. That's you can lose yourself down a rabbit hole very easily reading into too many comments. I do, however, enjoy, especially after a win, going back and watching all like the betting predictions because 90% of the time they're like, "Oh, maybe Gerald will win, but he's probably going to get knocked out." Like no matter how many times I've won recently or who I've beaten, they're like, "Yeah, I can never count him out, but I have him losing by knockout." Like, thanks, guys.
Yeah, no, that's definitely messed up. And like after you fought like Hamza Chimaev and stuff, like was that maybe like the worst, like when it comes to like the comments and stuff with people trying to bash you and whatnot?
I don't know about worst. I mean, it's definitely one of those things where even now, like I'll no matter what I post, like people will like post a GIF or like a picture of Hamzat about like literally about anything, which is is part of the game, man. Like you got to have thick skin. If you can step into a cage and fight somebody, but you get in your feelings because crazy hand 69 420 like posted some weird stuff on social media, like maybe you should do something else. Like it doesn't bother me too much. Honestly, I kind of like sometimes if I do see some stuff like that, I'm all for it as long as like there's some attempt to be funny. Like just posting a picture of Hamza, it's like okay, like I get what you're trying to do, but there's like no creativity behind that whatsoever. Or just being like you're a bum or whatever. It's like okay, like you can do better. But if someone like is on there and they're like legit like talking shit, I don't care if it's like against me or not. But like if you're creative and it's funny, like that, I'm all for that. Like if I will gladly let anyone post any, or not that I would ever stop anyone from posting anything anyway. But like if someone's like talking shit or something like that, if it's funny, I'm like that's awesome. Like I don't care if it's at my expense. Just please make an attempt to like be funny if you're gonna do it.
Right, right. No, that definitely makes sense. And before I had Tuco on here before, and he was telling me about his boy Will, and he was kind of trolling him and stuff. Do you know this guy Will as well too?
Yeah, yeah, I know. Well, yeah.
Does he try to mess with you at all too?
I don't think so. I mean,
That's good.
that's the other thing though, man. I got comments and stuff. If he did, I wouldn't have noticed. Definitely not in person. But that 99% of people is like if they say something, they just want a reaction, or like they say something negative. If you came at them with like kindness, they'd be like, "Oh, I didn't even think you would notice." Da da da. I'm like such a huge fan. Like they just want to be seen. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And then if they saw you in person, they definitely are like. We live, in a place with like laws and social rules. So like, even like, could I physically like if someone guy was talking trash, could I like beat the crap out of him? Physically, in reality, I could, but like I would never do that because I don't want to go to jail. And honestly, like it's not worth it to me to like inflict pain on another human being because they said words I don't like. That doesn't like I've never. I don't know. I got a lot of patience, so I've just never really understood that. But that being said, every like male alive knows that that's a possibility. So it's like you see him in person, they're like, you know what? Maybe I'm not going to tell him that he's a bum and he's going to get knocked out. Like this, maybe this isn't such a good idea.
Yeah, no, I definitely hear you there. And one thing I always like to ask everybody I bring on the show is I'm a Taekwondo instructor. I've been teaching for 6 years now. I've been training for 19 years. I started when I was 5 years old. So I love martial arts and love what I do. And all the different people I got in my gym, what advice do you give them to keep on coming into the gym and keep on getting better and better every day?
I would say don't focus on what you're doing wrong. Just focus on doing better at something. Like the more you can, obviously you want to have certain like long-term goals, but the more you can narrow in on something and like, you can only work on so many things at a time, right? And part of that's going to come from you, the instructor. It's like, okay, we're going to work on, X, Y, or Z. But for any specific person, what'll save you a lot of mental anguish is just zone in on something that you think you can improve. Like, don't say that you're bad at it. Don't tell yourself that, uh, try not to use any negative language. Just be like, what can I improve on? And then no matter how like bad you do it or, not perfectly you do it, just focus on, did I do that a little bit better today? You know what I'm saying? And to go along with that, you know, don't be mad that you did it wrong. You got to do it wrong every single way till the only way left to do it is the right way, right? So think about every mistake you make as getting all the mistakes out of the way so you get to the end goal of doing it correctly. Because there's no one, I've never met anybody in my life that does something like perfectly on their third try. And even if they do, they're going to screw it up on the fourth try. You know what I'm saying? So there's always going to be like you throw 100 kicks, like even the best guy, 85 of them will be like really good kicks, and the other ones aren't. So just
Oh yeah.
focus improvement, and don't worry about like, look at mistakes as like, okay, I got that mistake out of the way and now I can move on.
Yeah, no, I definitely think that's a solid message, Gerald. And speaking of messages, man, I mean, what's maybe your final message out there for the fans watching this video?
Hey, tune in August 24th. I've never been in a boring fight, and I don't intend to start doing it now.
Yeah, no, I definitely hear you there. Definitely have not been in a boring fight. And Gerald, man, thank you so much for taking the time and coming on. It means a lot to me. And hopefully we can do another one in the future. And, just got surgery on Monday. So hopefully I have a more professional setting and not kind of sitting in bed and everything. But thank you again for taking the time, man. It means a lot to me. And we're looking forward to that fight, man.
Oh, no, you're good, man. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
You're the man. All right, take care. Enjoy the rest of your day.